Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's review, we are taking a look at the new Eagle McMahon Boost from Streamline. Let's go ahead and kick this review off by taking a look at the profile and the feel. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. Now, the Boost has a very slender profile. It has a sharp rim, it has a low shoulder, and very slight dome to nearly flat, making this a very slender driver. It also has a very soft, kind of gummy feel, but it's still fairly stiff. So you're not going to be able to get a lot of bend on it, but it's something that's still gummy, so you can still at least manipulate the flight plate, which in this Neutron plastic makes it great for cooler but also drier conditions, but when it gets wet, it does have a tendency to get a little bit slick. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the flight, both lefty and righty perspectives, starting with the flight numbers. I think they said it was a speed 10, glide 5, turn -1, and a fade of 3. I believe that is the flight numbers that they gave it, and I can tell you this thing is pure beef. It is nothing like those flight numbers, mainly because it says it's a speed 10, glide 5. This thing goes absolutely nowhere. When I throw this on a hyzer, I mean, it doesn't want to do anything but that. As soon as it leaves my hand, it stays on that hyzer line and has an extremely hard dump. It gets no inkling of wanting to flip up to flat and riding straight whatsoever, and even when I do throw it flat, it still almost immediately turns into a hyzer angle out of the hand. It maybe pushes just a little bit further than when thrown just on a pure hyzer angle, but not very much. Even when it comes to forehand, yeah, it is so torque resistant that it's going to be very dependable, very reliable, a perfect driver to use in the wind, but it is just so beefy that it just goes absolutely nowhere if you have a slower arm. I can get my max distance drivers on a really good day about 320, 330 on a really good pull, but generally in that 300 to 310 range, I can barely get this thing to go anywhere, even on big anhyzers. This thing likes to level itself out and just hyzer back almost immediately. So you're definitely not going to be breaking any distance records with this. It is solely going to be for that dependability in the wind and just that overstability, because honestly, I'm throwing this on similar shots that I would be throwing a mid-range for, but just something that I need a harsher finish or maybe a flare skip at the very end. So this truly is a disc for the top tier competitors who have those really fast arm speeds and can get a lot on the disc, because it doesn't matter forehand, backhand, flat, anhyzer. Yeah, this thing is just an absolute meat hook. So bigger arms, this is really going to be the disc for you for being very dependable. Slower arms, not so much. And for you beginners, this is the kind of flight that you will get for a beginner. Yeah, just hyzer right out of the hand. That is all you are going to get if you are a true beginner. And yes, this is my actual right-handed form. So yeah, there's that. I'm not ambidextrous. I am actually just a lefty, and that is my pitiful right-handed form. Okay, so how to use the Boost out on the course? Well, I mean, it's super overstable, so guess what? It is great for those spike hyzers. Just put it on a hyzer angle, and that's all it's going to do. It's just going to spike to the ground. Now, if you do have kind of a faster arm speed, it's going to be great for these forced over flexes. Just be sure to give it a lot of angle, because it is going to want to auto-correct to flat and then hyzer out very, very quickly. But it also means that this is a great torque resistant option. So if you're a player that has a lot of power, this is extremely torque resistant, but it is usable for at least those kind of short, touchy approaches. Also great for skip shots. Now, I heard people wondering, what is the Boost comparable to? A lot of people were thinking it's like the PD from Discmania. Is it anywhere close to, say, the Anax from Discraft? Well, just the eye test, the Boost is incredibly more overstable. I think the Boost is going to be your most overstable. The PD is a little bit more on the understable side in the earlier part of the flight of the 3, but then has a good hard finish to it, versus the Anax is going to be incredibly straight. It's going to be the straightest flyer. As when thrown on a flat line, you're going to see that the Boost As soon as it starts to slow down even at all, it just instantly starts to hyzer out. The PD holds straighter longer, in fact even gets a little bit of a slight holds kind of a panning turn in the earlier part of the flight before checking up and then having a pretty substantial finish at the very end. And then you have the Anax, which is just incredibly straight. It has a little bit of a finish towards the very end, not nearly as much as the others, and you're really going to see that exaggerated here when we get to the four-handing shots. The Boost, I'm actually putting that on an anhyzer line, and you can see it really didn't hold that very long at all before it autocorrects itself and then hyzers back. The PD, when it came to forehand, it held straight a good amount, and then it has, again, that hard finish, that little bit of a panning turn in the earlier part of the flight. Nice curl to the basket. And then you have the Anax, which is just so laser beam straight with a very minimal fade and then a very generous skip. Overall, I really cannot recommend the Boost, at least not the prototype. We'll see once the stock runs come out, because this is just way too overstable for us mortal arms. So this is definitely a big boy's disc. Us slower arms, let this one lie. Now, not saying it doesn't have its uses, it definitely does. Again, if you're needing something like mid-range distance that's going to get more of a flare skip, or it's going to fight the wind better, yes, in those situations it will work, but it's so few and far between that I really can't justify bagging it. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to visit Great Lakes Disc for your next disc purchase. And until the next one, everyone, keep banging them chains.